Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Good morning.
Today we will start with a new topic, that is inheritance. We have discussed this concept of inheritance when we were studying the features of object oriented programming. Let us recap and try to understand what is an inheritance property. Say you have a class employee, and within this class you have declared certain member data, say his ID, salary, and along with some member functions. And at a later point you realize that there is a need for the class definition so that you can deal with the data pertaining to certain cadre of employees, and that could be a professor. And even in the class definition for a professor entity, surely you need ID and salary. Since even a professor is an employee, even he needs to have attributes such as ID and salary. And apart from that, you can also have several other attributes which are specific to professor class. Say teaching experience in years, number of papers published, say publications, number of publications. So though you have specific attributes for the professor, these two are repetitive in nature. They are redundant when you compare it with employee class. So object oriented programming languages want to avoid this repetitive task. When there is already a class which is related with the same attributes, why not reuse them, so that we can avoid the task of redefining them and rewriting the similar functions to assign values to these. Why not reuse them? So with the help of reusability feature, you can save time and effort. So this is one of the key features of object oriented programming paradigm. So with the implementation of reusability feature, you can have incremental program development. Say today you write a class definition for the employee entity, for the employee class, you write the code for the member functions. So it is written, tested after development, and you are sure that it works fine. So at a later point, if you can reuse the same data and functions, that reduces significant time and effort, so that you can focus on additional features and additional member functions. So this is the major advantage of inheritance. I hope you got the clear idea on inheritance concept. Now we will move on to C++ specific features with respect to inheritance. It is not just C++, any language that supports object oriented programming has a support for inheritance. There are a few minor differences, but conceptually the idea remains the same. The benefit of reusability can be gained when you employ inheritance feature in your programming. And within inheritance there are different types. Let us list them. Say there is a class A with some member data, say X, and you want to write class definition for B. This also needs to include X and along with that Y. So essentially you want to have X and Y for class definition of B. So what do? You will inherit A. So in this case we call A as the base class and B is the derived class. Derived class. This is one of the terminology set. You can also call it as parent class and this as child class, or else you can call it as superclass and this as the subclass. So 3 sets of terminologies, but we will stick to one to maintain the uniformity. We will use base and derived class. Okay, the first set. However, in your aptitude test, when you face interviews in future, next year, remember you can also use these terms interchangeably. If there is a question that mentions parent class or superclass, know that the question is referring to base class. Do not get confused with the change in the terminology. Okay. So such a scenario wherein you are inheriting from only one class, such an inheritance is called single inheritance. There is only one base class and you are inheriting from that one. This is single inheritance. There could be a situation wherein B is inheriting from A and C is inheriting from B. Surely this is not single. There are more than one class before the class C. So in this case, A is the base class for B and B is the base class for C. So as you can see, there are different levels. It's not just one level, there is a 2-level inheritance. So wherever you inherit from a class which is also inheriting from some other class, then this inheritance type is called multi-level. So in such a type, the classes which are in the middle act as both. They are base class for C. In this case, B is base class for C, and also it is derived class of A. There is more than one level of inheritance. This is type 2. There are a few more types. Let us see what are those. Say there are two classes A and B, and you want to write a class definition that wants to inherit from both of these, from A as well as from B. This is not single nor multi-level. This inheritance wherein class C is inheriting from more than one class is called multiple inheritance. More than one. In the previous example, it was multi-level. B is derived from A, whereas in multiple, A and B are not related. They are two different classes. They don't have any connection, but C wants to inherit from them. So this is example for multiple inheritance. Moving on to the next type. Say there is a class A and there are a few more classes, say B, C and D. B wants to inherit from A, C also expects the same, D also desires to be the derived class of A. So in this scenario, there is only one base class, whereas there are more than one derived classes, and this is called hierarchical inheritance. You can find such an example in botany or zoology. You have a species and there are subspecies which share traits with the parent species. Okay, so this is hierarchical, and there is one more type, last type. There is class A, and which is inherited by two classes B and C. What is this called? I mentioned its name a while ago.
Hierarchical, ma'am.
Correct. It is hierarchical, and after some time I realized the need for the class definition of, say, D, which needs to inherit from B and C. If you consider only the first half, then it is hierarchical, and later from the different derived classes you want to inherit. So this forms another type of inheritance which is called hybrid. Wherein you are inheriting from more than one class which are inherited from another class. So more than the theoretical explanation, these diagrams will make the concept clearer. Single is very easy to understand, just one base class, one derived class, and multi-level A to B, B to C. In a single line you are going to inherit, and whatever classes you have in between, they act as both base as well as derived. However, this doesn't mean you need to have only 3. You could have many classes provided all are inheriting in a single direction. A to B, B to C, C to D. You have got more than one level. It's like a multi-storied building. Multiple, as the name says, one class inheriting from more than one. You could also add one more. The number is not fixed to 2. Any number more than 1 is called multiple inheritance. And when you have one class which is inherited by many classes, more than one class, then that forms one hierarchy. So this is called hierarchical inheritance. And the last one is hybrid. So this diagram explains it better than the verbal explanation. There is one class which is inherited by 2 classes, and from these 2 classes you are writing a class definition by inheritance. Okay? Now that you know the advantage of inheritance and the different types, let's see how can we write code wherein we can implement inheritance property. Single inheritance. There is one class A with some member data, say X. Let's take only member data. We will add functions later. And then there is class B. Now I also want the class B to have a member data called X, and I see that there is already class definition. So instead of rewriting the statement int X, I want to reuse it. So I want to inherit class A so that class B becomes a derived class. And let's see the syntax, how to make it a derived class. In the class definition, immediately after the class name, you type colon followed by the keyword public and then write the class name. And this means that B is a derived class of A. Okay? And later in the main, let's create object of B. The explicit member data that is mentioned within B is Y. So if I write something like B dot Y is equal to some value, is this valid? Yes or no? Can I access Y using dot operator? Is this statement valid or not?
Mom, syntactically it is right what we have written.
Okay. And logically, is it correct?
Logically it is not correct, Mama.
Why not?
Because I don't think so it will access that value
Why?
for Y.
See, it is not in private section, it is in public section. I have explicitly stated that the member data in respective classes is public. So this is valid. Had I written private, then this is logically not correct. So this is valid. Now if I write B dot X is equal to some value, of course syntactically it is correct. Object name dot operator member data. In the absence of inheritance, this would not have worked, correct? We'll do one thing. We will remove the inheritance and test independent classes. Now there is no inheritance, A and B are independent, and in the main you are creating object of type B, assigning value to Y and also assigning value to X. So in the absence of inheritance, this is wrong, obviously wrong, because the class definition B has no member called X. Though X is public in class A, you cannot access it using the object of B. So using object of B, you can only access public members in its class. I mean, if you want to use dot operator. Now I added this syntax back. So there is inheritance, A is base class, B is derived class. So will that have any effect on the compilation? Let's check. If we get 0 error, it means that this is valid. It works. So what does it mean when there is no error for such a statement? By the property of inheritance, the class B, see, you have written that Y is member data of class B. But since you have inherited class A, X is also part of class B now. You have borrowed the member data which is in public section, and that's the reason you can access X just as you access Y. That is the meaning. Okay. Now I'll change this a bit. Pay attention to the class definition of A. It is public, so I could access it without any issue. What happens when I change it to private? X is private now and B is derived class of A. So even though it is private, can I access it because I am a derived class? Let's check. No, we are not allowed to access private member from base class. This error message is self-explanatory. It says X defined in the scope of A is private. So if you try to access it using object of B, it leads to error. Why is that so? I am a child class, I am a derived class. So don't I have the right to access private data? Shouldn't it be that so? No. If you are allowed, that defeats the very purpose of private keyword. The reason we declare member data or function in a private section is that I do not want anyone else outside my class to access it, and I have my own reasons for not allowing. There would be a strong reason for making them as private. So any confidential data that I place within private should never be allowed to access, whether you are an independent class or whether you are a derived class. So we can think of an analogy. Say your father has a private locker. He could have kept the valuables at house itself, but he chooses to keep them in a bank locker, private locker, and he registers that locker only in his name. So what is his intention? Obviously only he wants to access it, not anybody else. Even though you are his child, even though you are inheriting property from him, but at the moment whatever data, whatever valuables are present in the locker, private locker, are not to be given to you. That is the meaning. Okay, so even in inheritance, even through the mechanism of inheritance, you cannot access private data in your base class. Okay, don't forget this fact. So now we need to know, whenever you inherit, what kind of data is accessible and what is not accessible. So we will form one table so that becomes easy to remember. In this syntax, using which I implemented the inheritance, do you observe this keyword public? I have not written just the class name, I have written one keyword public. What is its significance? To demonstrate that, let me change this back to public. X is public, y is public, and with this setup I could access x and y. Now what happens if I change this to private? Class name is same, however this keyword access specifier name is changed. The program which was working perfectly fine is showing error messages that says x defined in A is inaccessible. The same code, when the keyword was public here, I could access x and y, correct? But the moment I change this to private, compiler is showing error message for this statement. It says x is inaccessible within the main program. What happened when I change this access specifier? So before we form that table, let's quickly understand this concept. A has x, B is y, and when I had the keyword public, I had written colon public followed by class name. So in this case I could access x as well as y, but the moment I changed it to private, I wrote it as private followed by base class name, I could access y, no issues with that, but this x is not accessible now. Remember, this y was public and so was x, both are public. The only change was when I tried to inherit using different keyword. And here is the explanation. Whenever you inherit from a class using public keyword, public members remain as public in your own class as well, so you are able to access it. So even within class B, it is like defining or declaring it as within public int x. Since it is public, if you write it as b.x, it is valid. But if you inherit using this private keyword, it is similar to writing code in this way: private colon int x. So x, which was public in class A, becomes private in class B. So as a result, if you write b.x, obviously this is not acceptable. You cannot directly access private members using dot operator. You can access them using member function, but never directly using dot operator. So this is how the keywords that are mentioned in the beginning of derived classes affect the visibility of inherited members. Is this part clear? Whatever I explained on this slide? This is just one combination of inheritance, public to private. So it is important that you understand this thoroughly before we move on to further combinations. Write the same in the form of code. Something was public in base class, and when you write definition for derived class in this way, it means that this is explicitly written, no issue with this part, but just because you have added this, compiler treats it this way. Within private section you have derived X, that is the meaning. Whatever was public, that will become private in the derived class. And if you have private, if you have it as private, no question of this part, you cannot even inherit it, don't even think about it, forget that private part. But if it is public, then it becomes private due to the presence of this keyword. Fine, let's make a chart. So what is its access specifier in the base class? If it is private, what happens? So will it be private in derived class or something else? So this is our derived class visibility. I meant this. The same X is under what kind of access specifier, whether private or public. So we will write for private and public first. And even this derived class visibility, it depends how you are deriving it. Are you deriving it privately or as public? So it means this keyword in the beginning of derived class. So is it public derivation? Is it public derivation or private? Okay, so if a member is private in base class, under what scope will it be in derived class? Something is private in base class, can you even inherit it? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
So it is not applicable, it is not inherited in the first place. So no question of deciding whether it comes under public section or private section. If it is private, you simply write it is not inherited. So there is no ambiguity over the visibility. It is simply not inherited. If something is not present in your class, then no matter, there is no question of visibility. Okay. And now coming to public member data in the base class. Something is public in base class and you derive it using public keyword. Earlier we had public keyword here. So when both are public, I could access this X. What does that mean? The X in base class, which is public, will become what kind of data? I am deriving it using public keyword. I could access it using dot operator. This should give you the answer. I am able to access it using dot operator.
It can be inherited.
Yes, definitely. It can be inherited. And is it private now, or what kind of member it is?
Public.
Public.
Good. So if there is public member data in the base class and you are deriving it using public keyword, then that is public in your derived class as well. It will be treated as public member data of derived class. If this is the case, it is public. I mean, whatever I have written in this chart, I am explaining. Base class visibility is public and derivation is public. So this data is having public visibility. That is the meaning. You are not going to write this, but the compiler treats X as public data. It is similar to writing this kind of statement. Okay. And now another combination. Data is public in the base class, but you are deriving it privately. I mean this X has public visibility in base class and you are deriving it privately. There is private derivation. So what happens to X visibility? It becomes private. You are inheriting it. There is no problem with the inheritance process. You are inheriting, but its visibility is changed to private now. Though it was public in base class, you are making it as private. So we can think of a scenario. Your father has some valuable item, say one expensive workstation, and he makes it public. He doesn't store it as in private locker. He says anyone can access it. I have no issue. And after certain time, you inherit that and you declare it as you inherit it privately. So what happens? So that expensive workstation is your private property. You make it as private. So it is like saying, sure, when it was in the possession of my father, it was public. He lent it to everybody. But since it is in my possession, I inherited it privately. It is my private property. I am not going to lend that expensive item to anyone else. Okay, that is the meaning of inheriting using private keyword. So you are narrowing the access. Something which was public, meaning the access or the visibility was wide, accessible to anyone. But now with the keyword of private, you are narrowing the access. You are keeping it to yourself. So let's write the visibility within derived class. There is one more keyword, we will add it in next class, and before that I want you to remember this thoroughly. There should not be any confusion when you have visibility and derivation with the keyword private and public. Only when you are thorough with this, we will move on to one more access specifier. Alright. So in your notes you can form such a table, leave some space for further keyword and note these values down. It is not yet complete. We will complete it in the next class.